Munaniona kwa miti kwa sababu tunaongea juu ya miti.
Where do you want to put a tarmac for monkey?
And to help us unpack this topic of Karura Forest is none other than Honorable Theo.
Why wake up one day, chase out people and take over the gates?
We are going to talk a bit about Karura Forest and not just Karura Forest.
There have always been harmony between Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura.
A very active member of the well-known Friends of Karura.
Even the letter communicating that you are taking over came at 12 when we were protesting.
I only saw protests. I didn't even know until I called to say, Phil, can we go to Karura tomorrow? And you said no.
I hope you're all excited and we cannot wait for you to watch it and share your comments.
Wangari Maathai fought for the forest. We continue fighting. We say a luta continua.
Hi everyone, welcome back to season 2 of the Journey and Fields podcast, a space where we talk about things that shape our world. In this episode, we are talking about the green heart of Nairobi, Karura Forest. So we shall talk about everything and anything to do with Karura Forest. There's a lot of recent changes that are happening, the history of Karura Forest, why you need to know about Karura Forest. Best believe we shall address all that in this episode. My name is Mwende.
And my name is Stella. And today we are joined by Theo, the member of County Assembly of Karura Ward and the chairperson of the City Park Community Forest Association, as well as an active member of the Friends of Karura Association. So Theo is not just a member of County Assembly of the Karura area, but he's also part of the community and the legacy and the whole space that he's talking about this very important matter. So welcome, Theo, to our set. Please let us know who is Theo, why are you in the space, how did you find yourself in the space, and why do you do what you do now?
Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Theo. I'm a child of the forest. I was born and I was raised in a community that lives around Karura Forest. So Karura Forest is my home. Actually, not my second, it's my home. Because this is where we used to go as young boys, and I'm now a big boy, to fetch firewood, burn charcoal, and also do hunting. So with the coming of Friends of Karura as a community forest association and the fencing of Karura Forest, all those things changed. The access that we used to get also got limited because now the forest embraced a model of sustainable forest management and conservation. So part of the reason why I'm so much entrenched into that space of Karura Forest is because that's home. You know, there are people who come from Kakamega, Kisumu, Nyahururu. Me, I was born and raised in that forest. So that is home, home, home. And to me, I call Karura a sanctuary. And that is my sanctuary and our community sanctuary. And we are happy that we have given you Karura to walk and to also draw livelihood. So for the 70,000 Kenyans who walk in Karura, every other month, remember there is a community that has been involved in fighting for Karura Forest from the days of Wangari Maathai and to also even in these later days of sustainable conservation and management of Karura Forest.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think one of the things that, as you were speaking, just talking about, your passion about the space and even sharing why Kenyans need to, acknowledge even the journey that has been. Some of us just go and walk there and we don't even know that there were people that fought for this space. Please, if you've not read up on Wangari Maathai, just do that because it's very important to have the history and know and also safeguard some of these spaces. And just to start us off, I actually want to piggyback on everything that you've mentioned and share a quote by Wangari Maathai. She talks about the environment and the economy are really both sides of the same coin. If we cannot sustain the environment, we cannot sustain ourselves. And I think when you've shared about how the community is surrounding Karura, and the community has done a huge part in making sure it is what it is today. It's also a reminder to us that you care about the economy, you don't care about the environment, and what are you eating? What are you breathing? We know, if you remember, plants help us with oxygen circulation and so on and so forth. The environment is also as equally important as all the other factors that we think about when we're thinking about our lives.
I'm curious, what would you say from where you sit have been the milestones of the Friends of Karura Association, and also some of the challenges that the association has faced?
So just also understand the context of Friends of Karura, forests across Kenya, government forests are under Kenya Forest Service. And as I had said earlier, government is not supposed to manage a forest without the input or incorporating the community. And this is through the Forest Conservation and Management Act. So it is known and it is regally that you must manage forest with the community. So Friends of Karura came into being around 2010 because of the provision in the Forest Conservation and Management Act. So Friends of Karura is a community vehicle that incorporates a representative of people from Muthaiga, Runda, Peponi, Huruma, Ridgeways, Whispers, and all those communities that live adjacent Karura Forest. So they came together and came up with this vehicle. And so that they could appeal to every other Kenyan or every other Nairobian, other than just calling it Karura Forest Community Forest Association, they said, let's call it Friends of Karura. So that when you call it Friends of Karura, it's more incorporating. It's powerful. So Friends of Karura, one of the role that they have played in a big way as far as conservation of Karura is concerned is fundraising. It's the team that fundraised for the fencing around 2010. It's also the team, in conjunction with Kenya Forest Service, came up with the first document on how you sustainably manage and conserve Karura. Right now, we are at our fourth cycle of a Karura Forest Participatory Forest Management Plan. You do not just conserve forest without a document. There is a 5-year document that stipulates and enumerates what is supposed to be done within a year, within 5 years. So Friends of Karura have been very critical in the management and conservation of Karura. And this has been done jointly with Kenya Forest Service. And from 2010, there have been that arrangement that we are in this. It's like a marriage, because even they sat down and came up with agreements that these are your rights as Friends of Karura. And one of the rights was to collect fees at the gate. But the fees that are collected at the gate, or the gates at Karura, go to a joint account with the joint account of Friends of Karura and Kenya Forest Service. And I can here say that all the buildings that you see in Karura, all infrastructure development that you see in Karura Forest, have been done through the funds that are collected from the gate, from the public fees that we get from the gate. There has never been an exchequer funds that comes into the forest to do all those things. All those monies are collected, and with authority of Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura, that's happened. So Friends of Karura and Kenya Forest Service, they have to work together. They're in a marriage. They have to check one another. Yeah. And that marriage has been working until now, recently, when issues emerged. But we will dive into that.
And we're coming to that, but we've had a conversation before, and you said this money that is also collected goes into paying some of the workers, majority of whom are women, maybe correct if I'm wrong, as well as scholarships. Could you talk a bit about that?
Part of the reason why Friends of Karura felt not involved in the manner that Kenya Forest, or rather State Department of Forestry, wanted to take over Karura is because there are programs. There are programs that have been there, like the scholarship program, a 30M fund project that gives scholarship to high school students from Gedogoro, Huruma, Dipsy, and Gashie, and also for university and polytechnics. So they also felt that if this money goes to e-citizen, how do you get that money back? And how do you even convince the government that as a forest, we have this fund? Because government is a bureaucracy. So that was one of the things that also people were not happy with that takeover, because that takeover should have also put into place some of the dynamics factors of Karura and tailor-made something or that benefits Karura in one way or the other. And also, we have cashews. There are people who do not necessarily work in offices at FKF, but they work in the forest. They are the tree carers, they work in the nursery, they are there to prepare holes for tree planting. Those guys have cashew contracts. So they are paid by friends of Karura. So when you take that, would have those people been accommodated in a government payroll? Those were some of the issues that were being raised. And I'm happy to say that through intervention from friends of Karura, friends in government, and also CCF, Alex Remakoko, who has also been very instrumental to see to it that livelihoods are not disrupted. Because to him, from where I sit, Karura being in a good position, he has time to go to other forests across Kenya. And I say because the Karura forest model is working, we should not break what is working. We should go out there and fix what is not working across the country. Yeah.
And actually, I'd love for us to spend a bit more time, because I think we've already now started alluding to it, the changes with some of the systems when it comes to Karura. You did mention that the fees were being collected in a joint account, so jointly managed by pretty much Friends of Karura and government, basically. And now all those fees ideally will be connected through e-citizen. So you've already alluded to it, but I think it would be nice to just spend a bit more time so that people understand these are the changes that have been fronted, and you've already alluded to what it means, but perhaps just a bit more in-depth talk about what that process looks like. There was a lot of outrage, but where do things stand? Even considering the outrage that was there, what is Friends of Karura right now prioritizing in relation to that, and what is Friends of Karura worried about in relation to that?
So to manage Karura, you need funds. You need funds, and actually part of the agreement was that you collect funds and you have budgets. You have monthly and annual budgets. And you have to give justification why we should take this item and not take this other item. So our fear, and I say this as a community leader and someone who represents part of the vulnerable community that depends on Karura. These are the communities of Githogoro and Huruma for their economic livelihood. They draw the economic livelihood from Karura. So without that aspect of funding, when there's no certainty of when they can be paid, and when the money is, because these are people who depend on what they are paid weekly, so that they can eat. So, and now we're in scenarios where people who work even for government go for months without being paid. Yeah. A good example is Nairobi City County. This is our second month as workers in that county without not being paid.
Na tunalipa tax.
Yes.
Yeah, and lecturers in public universities are always striking, doctors.
Yeah. So those people, the community, those two communities will not go to work. They will just go to that forest and rob people. You have to give them a reason. You have to pay them. So that was one of the factor. Secondly, is also disrupting the scholarship program, as we have said, because it has been a success over the years. And also even Friends of Karura, through the funds that are collected, maintaining that fence has helped communities of Muthaiga, communities of Runda, Kiambu Road, and Rimuru Road. Because before the fence was put in place, insecurity was quite rampant in that area. And also remember that UN and UNEP and these embassies are in Gigiri, so you don't want to compromise their security. So that's why I said, without having a clear way of how some of those services can be paid, and I said government is a bureaucracy, because Because when those monies go to e-citizen, how do you get those monies back again for Karura? That was one of the issues. But as we speak, there was a meeting that was convened by the PS Treasury, incorporating Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura. It is now people are talking, people are negotiating. We want a scenario whereby the monies are collected through e-citizen, but there is a way where you integrate the Karura system. The monies reflect in e-citizen, but they go to a joint account. So there are people who have that technical know-how. They are doing that. That other issue was on the fees. You know, for every transaction you do on e-citizen, you pay 50 shilling. So it does not make sense when you are paying 100 for forest access, then you pay 50 shilling. So that also is being looked into, so that people can pay 5 shilling for convenience for that system. Yeah.
And that would be great, because even the common Mwananchi, middle class Mwananchi who pay to access Karura were already complaining that, I mean, you're increasing the fee. And I guess the anxiety is most times we know that things have been working because there's another institution that has been, let's say, the caretaker, making sure that what needs to happen so that Karura continues to exist. It's a safe space. Everyone goes there and enjoys. There's a community and there's a caretaker that has been looking at that. So once that caretaker is removed from the equation, of course, everybody will get anxious. Yeah.
And also another issue that was raised is the issue of access. Karura, you're supposed to access, someone from Mathare or Korogosho needs to access Karura, but when the fees are hiked, they cannot access. You know, you make it an elitist forest, and that should not be the case. Communities and Kenyans should be able to access Karura because the fees are favorable, and that's why for the last 10 years, for the last 15 years, you just needed 100 to walk into Karura. Yeah, those are some of the issues that Friends of Karura are fighting, so that we can go back to 100, so that you allow Kenyans from all walks of life to walk to Karura and access Karura. If you have a car, you're okay. You can ride there and pay your parking fee and also pay your fee. But there's someone who just needs to walk to a forest for mental wellness. Yeah.
Let me maybe speak for fellow Kenyans. I love Karura, and you and I have even gone on a walk, although your level is on another level. It's really hard reconciling why payments now have to go to e-citizen. Well, on this other side, you've seen a scandal around e-citizen. So the reason why I've refrained from going myself is, until I understand this whole thing, and I'm glad that you're unpacking it for us, is how do I know as a Kenyan and as a friend, I'm not part of the association, but I am a friend of the forest. How do I know that my money is also not part of what the government is taking away and not accounting for? So maybe that's why, and we haven't even started to talk about other forests, which maybe are not as well managed as Karura Forest. Please talk us through what was the process of government saying that, you know what, we're going to take over and we are moving the payments to e-citizen until it was done, because I only saw protests. I didn't even know until I called to say, Phil, can we go to Karura tomorrow? And you said no. Why the hurry? Why the urgency? What was wrong? What was burning that people could not have government explain? And again, this is why we say government communication is very important. Why must citizens have to go and fight or protest so that everything is made clear, and then quickly government takes over? What was the process? Yeah, was there public participation? Was there notices? Yeah.
So to start with, Kenya Kwanza government came up with a directive that all the government fees have to go through the e-citizen platform. So the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, through the State Department of Forestry, gave instructions to Kenya Forest Service that you need to somehow take over Karura. And part of that process, what happened is that we saw an audit process commenced by the State Department of Forestry under PS Getonga Mugambi. And in this audit, they came up with all manner of allegations without giving Friends of Karura a platform to defend themselves. Because when you are auditing me, you have to also ask me questions. You can't just come to me, ask for documents, and you go audit. Where there are queries, you should invite people to make those clarification. And also part of the people who audited that the documents at Friends of Karura, just a single person out of 11 people, only one person came from Kenya Forest Service, and there was no one from Friends of Karura. So we saw it as a pro by the State Department of Forestry to just give a dog a bad name. Because people who have lived together for 15 years in a harmonious manner, you know, there have always been harmony between Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura. Why wake up one day, chase out people, and take over the gates? Because I can tell you, even the letter communicating that you are taking over came at 12 when we were protesting. 12 p.m. when people had already started protesting. So that was not the way to go. That was not the manner to take over Karura. If there are issues, the audits are done every year, and the audit is also shared with Kenya Forest Service. And as I have said, the account is a joint account. Friends of Karura cannot withdraw monies from that account, and without the support of Kenya Forest Service, and vice versa. So if there are monies that have been misused in one way or the other, it's to ask the two parties. You cannot just ask Friends of Karura or ask Kenya Forest. You have to ask the two parties. But as far as I'm concerned, there is no financial impropriety at Friends of Karura or at our association. And if there is, we are open for audit, for financial audit for the last 10 to 15 years. And if there are people who are culpable, they can be arrested. There are processes. But you cannot correctively give us a bad name. We have given Nairobians and Kenyans a place to go to work. We have given communities a place where they can draw livelihood. Yes.
Yeah. So within a matter of weeks, I think we've now seen, I think I've seen a tarmac road. What is that about? What is the effect on that in terms of what is the effect of that on the forest itself and even some of the projects that have been going on there?
Actually, we were not involved. As a member of Friends of Karura, I was not involved, and I was not consulted, and also Friends of Karura were not consulted when that tarmac was being done at Karura. And we were opposed to it, and to this day we are opposed to it. And Friends of Karura went to court to seek court intervention on that matter. When our partners, Kenya Forest Service, were asked what is happening, they said they needed to do 500 meters tarmac inside the forest to allow their staff quarters. They said when it's raining, it's muddy, it's dusty. Those are some of the reasons. And I find those reasons to be lame. You know, it's just a lame excuse. Because the forest is firstly for trees and animals and people. Why do you want to put a tarmac for a monkey? You know, it does not make sense, or any other animal. So it's people who should get out of the forest. Mwende. You know, the forest belongs to the trees first and animals. People come, you know, people just go to the forest to complement whatever those animals do. Lastly, what I find is that some of us are users of Karura, and we protect Karura and conserve Karura because we are passionate. But there are people who protect Karura because they are paid. That's the difference. There are some who do not have loyalty. But for some of us, you must have loyalty because there is where you call home. It's where part of your community also draw livelihood. So you are a user of that forest every other day. Unlike now, someone who is employed by government to protect. Yeah. So he uses the forest by protecting it maybe at the gate. But there are users who use it every other day, and they have to go inside that forest to work. And that's the community. So that's the difference between the two.
Yeah, but we know how these things start. First, it's a 500-meter tarmac. Then it will be, we need the pavement, we need, and so on and so forth. Next, you find a whole structure has been built, and then now you can't even start undoing things. So, yeah, I think that bit of safeguarding this space for the animals and for, the good of all the people is very, very important. And thank you so much for sort of highlighting that. So, and perhaps before we start ending the conversation around that Friends of Karura bit, I am curious because you mentioned that Friends of Karura constitutes the communities that surround Karura. So is it open membership? How many members does Friends of Karura have? And by virtue of you saying that it constitutes the surrounding community, how else can a normal citizen engage? One, or two, generally, even if it's not necessarily through Friends of Karura, how else can a normal citizen stay alert and support Friends of Karura with the work that you're doing?
So Friends of Karura Community Forest Association is the only community-based organization recognized by government and Kenya Forest Service to co-manage Karura and conserve. So, and at Friends of Karura, we define community as the people who live adjacent the forest and anyone who have an interest to preserve, to conserve Karura. So you're also part of the community or your community if you live around that place or if you, wherever you live, but you have an interest for the forest. So we define you as a community. So if you want to do, it's a membership-based organization. You just walk to Gate A on the Muru Road. We have an office there. It's called Karura House. You'll find people there who will help you to subscribe. We pay 1,500 to be a member. So it's open to all Kenyans of goodwill.
Yeah. So that, we say there is what is written, what is said, but also behind the scene, one would maybe ask or be curious. So in that case, is the association elitist? Or to what extent does the association make sure that it's very much inclusive and that you're reaching other community members in addition to what you're already doing, which is great, the scholarships and all? Yeah.
Of course, you can't compare Karura with, say, Mukogondo Forest in Laikipia.
Why is that? Yeah.
Because here, you have residents of, say, Runda, they have a representative, maybe a judge, or Muthaiga, you have a representative who is a minister who sits in that board. So, and to make sure we incorporate even the vulnerable communities of Huruma and Githogoro, they also have a representative. But you find that representatives from those communities are not proactive when they go to the board, when they go to the meetings of Friends of Karura. Because if I'm a representative from Runda or Muthaiga, I'm supposed to talk about issues of people from Muthaiga as far as Karura is concerned. Someone from the vulnerable community of Githogoro should speak about issues of Githogoro and Huruma. So there have been a disconnect with community because the community, some of the people they elect or choose to go to those meetings are not at par, education-wise and also exposure-wise. And that now you find there's a disconnect. There are those who would say that Friends of Karura is elitist. People are entitled to their opinion. And there are those who would say they try in one way or the other to incorporate the vulnerable community. So we have two sides of the coin. We have the elite side of Friends of Karura, and also we have the community. It's a reflection of the two cultures. And it's through that combination and complementarity of the two, we have been able to sustainably conserve and manage Karura. So we need everyone from the vulnerable community and from the reefy suburb of Muthaiga and Runda.
Yeah. And actually, just because, Stella, you've asked that question, when you mentioned the fees, I was curious whether everybody, including representatives of the surrounding community that perhaps might not afford that fee, are they already locked out? So thank you for that response, because I was wondering whether, the members of the community also have to pay, because you see, for them, that's home. They are pretty much sharing their home, because before Karura had to be regulated, they had open access to, you started by talking about you growing up there, yeah. So they pretty much allowed for the rest of Kenyans and the world to be able to experience Karura. So yeah, I was really asking myself, 1,500, I'm curious whether, yeah.
Yeah, actually, also part of the reason why the communities of Ruma and Githogoro are so much engaged in Karura is because they have what we'll call user groups. And these user groups are, because you cannot engage everyone in the community, and not everyone is interested in forestry. So there are various 10 to 15 groups of women and youth. who come together, groups of between 10, 15 to 20 people in a group. So Friends of Karura is now to engage the community through those groups. So there is a community that, for example, will say we would want to do beekeeping in the forest. So they will be given the user right. There are those who will say ours is that of fetching firewood or water and such like things. So through that collaboration, you find also the community is involved, and then if they want to come or to go to the forest, there is an arrangement. Because you see, for them you cannot treat them the way you treat people of Runda. Maybe people of Runda walk in is luxury, but for these ones it is known as that luxury. They have to walk to the forest to walk. Yes, and so we have also to have that balance, so that equation and that ecosystem of these two communities can work. Yeah.
So in terms of this whole Karura Forest government tussle or takeover, would you say there is hope in the process that has been established by the PS and with the representatives of the association and the Kenya Forest Service?
There is hope, and actually I commend the PS for tertiary, PS Kipto, for convening the very first meeting, and the goodwill from Kenya Forest Service. And I would say Kenya Forest Service has always had goodwill with the Friends of Karura and the community the community therein. For me, from where I see the issue was coming from the State Department of Forestry. I think they don't understand the ground, and they just give instruction without seeking meaningful advice from the users or from the joint managers of Karura Forest and that Kenya Forest Service. So I find friends and colleagues at Kenya Forest Service, they were conflicted because these are people you work with every other day, and they have been given instructions: go and take over the gate and take over, and you become the clerks and the rangers there, and you kick out community scouts and clerks. So there was a disconnect there, because you see it's your PS or it's a State Department that has given that instruction. So what do you do sitting at Kenya Forest Service? You can only give advice. That advice can be taken or taken for granted. And in this case, I believe the advice from Kenya Forest Service was taken for granted by the State Department of Forestry. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And just perhaps just steering just a bit away from the conversation about Friends of Karura Forest, I am curious, for you as a child of Karura, someone who's grown up in Karura, and just someone that is passionate about conserving the environment, what's your vision for Karura Forest? Like if someone asked you, where do you want Karura Forest to be in the next 5 to 10 years, what would you say?
So I would say Karura has come a long way from the Karura of 2010. The issue for me would be access of communities, and that we should not disturb the ecosystem. That forest should continue to be a conservation forest. That, for me, I would call it the mission and the vision. That make sure that forest is managed sustainably, incorporating community voices, and not alienating community voices that like it has happened a month or two ago. And that collaboration between government and the community. Yeah.
Okay. And what advice would you give to people who, wherever they live close to forests, but they have never bothered to know, what's happening? Because, I think you've talked about Karura's model being something that it's ready to replicate. It's been tried and tested. I mean, Friends of Karura, you talked about it being in existence for I believe 15 years. Yeah. So what advice would you give to people out there? Because I don't even know the number of forests in Kenya. Maybe I should have checked that out, but I know there are definitely many. Because now we have a system that is working with Karura, but in relation now to other forests across the country, perhaps if you're privy to this information, what is the state? What are some of the things that communities that live around forests need to be aware of? And what message would you just pass on to someone who has been wondering, there's a forest here and, I don't know what's happening and how can I, be useful since I live close to it.
Yeah, and for context, maybe to add to Mwende's question, we've seen the plans to have a state lodge in Meru. I just saw the other day that they're introducing fees. There's no longer going to be free entry into the parks and forests. Yeah, so again, what's your advice moving forward to the local communities?
To start with, we have over 242 forest stations, or forest, what you'd call government forest, across the country, is to ask communities or individuals to take advantage of the legal provision found in Forest Conservation and Management Act. That should be the starting point. And also the Constitution on Article 69. So you have been given a mandate and an obligation by the Constitution and Forest Conservation and Management Act to form or be part of a community forest association. And then you collaborate with Kenya Forest Service to put up agreements on how you manage and conserve a forest. So across Kenya, because we are in Kenya, Forest Conservation and Management Act applies to all government forests. So it's now upon communities, and also it's also upon Kenya Forest Service to continuously do civic engagement. And they have a very strong office at Karura for community office. Now this is the Karura office of Kenya Forest Service. They have an office that is dedicated to community forest association, with that now goes out to do those outreach programs and also build capacity on communities, on how to conserve and on how to manage. Yes. So there are still good things happening at Kenya Forest Service, and one of it being that robust engagement with communities across the country. Yeah.
That's encouraging to hear, something positive. It's not always negative, right? Do you have anything that you'd like the public to know, or the viewers, our followers, on the forest, and maybe what they should be very keen on before we go into something a bit lighter for the quick fire questions here?
Okay. So maybe it's to tell people, or the communities, we can't live without forest. Human beings can't. And Nairobi, starting with Nairobi County or Nairobi City, needs Karura to breathe. And so is also Arboretum. We need Arboretum. We need City Park. We need Gong Road. These are some of the green spaces that should not be disturbed. Why do you want to make hotels or infrastructures that do not support or that go against ecosystem? So the point is that we, as the people of Kenya, we should always be vigilant at all time, and we should not just leave this responsibility of managing such an asset, because forest is an asset and is a resource, is a national and a natural resource. It should not just be left to government and bureaucrats. People must seek to be involved, and we must always be proactive citizen. So, and all the views that I've also expressed here is I've expressed those views as someone who is passionate about forestry, but bottom line, as a proactive citizen. Yeah.
Umesema tukae chonjo.
Tukae chonjo, tukae ridho.
All right. Do you want to get us started on?
Yeah, sure. So maybe just because we've really talked a lot about the forest, we've talked about, some of the ways that we can play our active role as citizens to safeguard the forest. But I want to just open this space up to you to just share even, and I know that, you are an MCA, but just outside of that, I am curious for any young person who's looking to vie for a political seat, generally, what advice could you pass on to them so that then they continue to be able to be in service of the people, because that's why they're put there. And I'm saying this because we know in Kenya right now, every conversation has to touch on our political status. As you said, tunakaa chonjo. Yeah, so even as we just talk about other things that you do, what sort of encouragement would you pass on to young people that are saying, 2027, I'm vying for MCA, or I'm vying for any political seat, or whatever it is?
It's also to start with, to ask people who have ambition of maybe going to politics, elective politics, young people, first of all, consult Article 1 of our constitution, because that's where the mandate that Kenyans delegate to leaders start. And you can, as a country, we can either, as citizens, rule ourselves directly or through elected people. But in our scenario now here, because we have democracy, Kenyans choose a democracy that, whereby you send a representative to a county assembly, to national assembly, or to Senate to represent you. So it is now upon young people to have that ambition. I vied in 2013. I was 24. Oh, wow. So by every sense, I was a Gen Z. And if I go back, I was actually the least in everything, from age to exposure, even to height, like in every other sense. Yeah. But what really helped me and pushed my agenda is because I identified with a community. So my advice to the young people is that you have to identify with a community. And when I say a community, I'm not saying you identify with the Kikuyus or the Kalenjins or the Luo. It's not the tribe. We are defining a community as a people who share the same ideals, or people who find themselves in maybe the same age group or in the same locality. So I identified a need in my community, and I was first a youth leader in a church. I was first a youth leader in a community. And now through those engagements, my campaign became very easy to do, because I made sure that the community has invested in that campaign. So if I lose, it's them who are losing. And it was very now hard for the whole community to lose. So that's how it started. So you must first of all start with defining a community, and all those other things are going to align themselves, and you find yourself, you have a position where you are able to represent people. Because we must, if young people, if the majority of Kenyans are young people, majority of our representatives at the county assemblies, the 47 county assemblies and the National Assembly and the Senate should be young people. And so is the national executive and county executive. They should be young people. Yes, it's young people who should be on that table. But for far too long, young people are not so much involved in politics. And politics define everything. So, but I'm happy, since 2014, we have seen young people now are so much involved in political processes and social media, and such a platform like this, where you invite them and where you do podcasts to just give them exposure. Now they have capacity to go out there and seek for this position. So we'd ask them, they need to register. Then they need to aspire to be in this position. Then they need to come out in big numbers to be voted and to also vote. Yeah.
And to do well by the communities that they're serving. There goes our call to action. I think you've dropped so many things. Surely, but however you are, even if you don't intend to vie, there is something that he has said that you need to start doing if you're not already doing. And before I hand over back to Stella, I want to start the fun question segment. So for someone who perhaps has never been to Karura, or someone that's been saying, I want to go to Karura, or maybe even for the people who've gone to Karura and they might not have experienced some things, what would you say is the favorite spot, your favorite spot in Karura? You know, one of those places where when you go in, you tell yourself, I must pass by there. Or alternatively, because I know there are different gates, different routes, feel free to answer in whatever way. But for someone who's never been, if you were to tell them, go to Karura and make sure you go here or go do this, what would you tell them?
I would advise them to be adventurous and go to all corners of Karura. But as far as I'm concerned, Amani Gardens works for me, because that's a space that I am able to walk barefoot. And for me, that helps me become grounded. And yes, Athens, you'd call it Athens.
Lovely. Yes. Okay, we'll definitely go.
Oh, I love that, yes.
And I can orient you guys.
Of course.
We are taking up that offer.
We went for a walk and he wanted to take me everywhere, but I was so tired and he kept going, so we'll come back definitely. So for the next set of questions, you have to answer very quick and then we move to the next one, yeah? Sunrise walk or sunset bike ride?
Walk in the morning.
Great. One tree you'd love to plant everywhere?
Mudiga. It's called Wambugi Yoga dances
Now why?
because it helps us with brushing our teeth. It's
Okay. If Karura could speak, what would it say?
sustainable management and conservation.
Oh, okay. Your go-to song for a forest walk?
My go?
Your go-to song?
Song? Yeah. No, I listen to trees.
I saw that coming. Okay. One Kenyan leader you'd take on a Karura hike and why?
Maraga.
Mara? Oh, why?
For no good reason. I would want to understand at this age. He's 70 something.
Yeah.
Why he would want to be president. Yeah, just to ask why he would want to be president. Yeah. And to be president here, you need a lot of energy.
Good question. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your environmental superpower?
Come again.
What's your environmental superpower? If you okay, actually, your environmental instinct, or your environmental perspectives, or how you connect with nature. Is there any superpower behind it? Or if you were actually an environmental superpower, what would it be?
I'm lost. I'm lost in the forest.
Okay, I agree with that. All right. Yeah. Thanks for answering the quick question. Actually, you are quite fast, so which is amazing. So, COP30 is coming up next month. What are your thoughts, first of all, about COP and the politics of COP? And what would be your message to world leaders as they convene in Brazil this year for the Conference of Parties?
I think I don't have much to say about COP. It's 30, because it's just a congregation of leaders. Yeah. It's more of a talk show or a talk shop, because things happen on the ground. But beyond that, they must also seek the support of the US because of the dollar. They have to seek that support and have US be part of the COP. Yeah. Yes.
And this year, the president withdrew and said that US is no longer a party in the Paris Agreement. So again, like you, I agree that it's just a talk shop, really.
Because also, like the way you say, Kenya should come first. Stai kusema Kenya kwanza because you see that has connotation. Yeah. Kenya should come first, even for the Americans. America first. Right. Yeah. So if COP is not working for them, they will choose where they are comfortable. Right. Yeah.
Okay. What is your plan politically? I mean, we've seen you very vocal, not just in terms of environmental issues, which is so important, but even in other issues to do with the country. What should people expect, those who are actually watching you keenly? What are you thinking?
When I'm waiting for a signal. And by next year, the signal will be out. So when it is out, I'm also going to give that signal.
Maybe you should go, walk in the forest. A sign will come to you.
Superpower.
The forest will tell you what to do. We will stay watching. Yeah.
All right. So finally, what's your rallying call to Kenyans who have been very curious about Karura Forest and any other forest, but most importantly, to young people who've proven, by the way, across the world that they are not here to just sit and watch. They actually have a big stake and they're taking over, they're taking charge. What would be your message to them?
To the young people, they are the present and the future. And they must seek to be so much entrenched and engaged in whatever is happening in our country, and also in these green spaces. And I had also said these green spaces also help people to be in a good mental frame and mental awareness. And I would say Karura Forest is open to young people and Kenyans. And I had said that over 75,000 Kenyans visit Karura for a reason. So there is a reason why we should conserve that forest for this present generation, because we are the present generation, and also the future generation. So Wangari Maathai fought for the forest. We continue fighting. We say a luta continua.
True, a luta continua. Yeah. And thank you so much for just sharing with us. I think there's just a lot of insights. And sometimes, we operate in this world just not knowing things, and people end up having ignorant opinions or, just uninformed opinions. And I believe that this episode has really helped even myself, and I'm sure Stella, just have a baseline of information when it comes to Karura, so that then at least the two of us, at the very least, we need to play our role and be a bit more active citizens and support Friends of Karura as you continue to champion for that space, because as you mentioned, Karura is setting precedents for a lot other forests and other entities, and I'm sure probably not just in Kenya. So people are watching, and I think it's just important for us to know people are watching, and anyway, it's to our benefit to have the green spaces, like you mentioned. With that, we have come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for taking this time to hang out with us. We definitely do appreciate it. And to our audience, leave a comment and let us know what you think about the episode. Share one of your favorite memories. If you've been to Karura or any other forest anyway, share any of your memories. We'd definitely love to hear from you. Until next time, stay safe and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.